Hello, gluten-free friends, and welcome to our Tuesday chat. All month long, we are talking about loving your gluten-free life. And today I have a special guest for you, my friend, Margot Thornton. Hello, Margot.
Hello, Jennifer. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad you're joining us today. Margot is a fertility coach, and I connected with her because we were talking about living gluten-free and how gluten-free can help you with fertility, correct?
Yes.
So let me introduce her to you, and then we'll let her tell us a little more about that and why she's here talking with us. Not just about fertility, because I know not everybody in our group is in that phase of life, but she has some really great tools for us about overwhelm. And I know all of us who need to go gluten-free experience that overwhelm when we're trying to start a new change in our life, right? Change can be difficult and scary, and it overwhelms us. And most of my clients will say, "Oh, I'm so overwhelmed," right? So when we start talking about that, I'm like, you need to come share this in my group. So Margot is a fertility coach who has over 15 years experience and expertise in numerous holistic health disciplines such as yoga, meditation, breath work, and energy balancing. This is why she's here. She's a certified yoga instructor, Energy Medicine Clinical Practitioner, and Gestalt Professional Certified Coach. Maybe she could tell us what all that means. So Margot, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and why you're here?
Sure. Thank you for that lovely introduction. So, right now, I help people get pregnant. That's my specialty, working with women on their fertility journey, also to
Of course.
sustain a healthy pregnancy, of course. But my breadth of tools, as you just lovely described, goes beyond just pregnancy and fertility. Of course, I can apply my tools to, as you said, people that maybe are under stress and overwhelm or any sort of health condition. But that's why I love all the holistic tools and disciplines that I've studied, because I've able to condense some of them into really accessible tips. And in my experience with the practices myself and with working with clients, they're really, really beneficial, and you can feel results pretty quickly. So that's why I love them without any medical intervention. So all natural ways. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, have you gone into this field for personal reasons as well?
Yes, yes. So I initially started with fertility because a dear friend of mine who then became a client was actually struggling with pregnancy, trying to get pregnant. And I supported her. She ended up having to go through IVF, and it failed. And she was just heartbroken. And she came to me, and that's when we worked together. And she had one chance left with the IVF because, it's so expensive. And after working with me and going through her second round, it stuck, and she was able to get pregnant. And now her son's 4 or 5. So that's what really inspired me to start on the path. But then, lo and behold, I tried to get pregnant, and I thought, oh, well, I have all these tools. I'm fairly healthy. Like, this is going to be no problem for me. And then it was a problem. It took me 3 years to conceive. But then at the age of 40, I was able to conceive naturally and then give birth to my baby girl. So then it really became a passion of mine, and really felt like a calling that, like, okay, I was able to help a friend, but now I was able to help myself. And after so long, I get the pain that women go through. It's so challenging and isolating. And, I want to be there for those, for those people that are in that position, to let them know that there is hope. There are things you can do, and support them as best I can.
Yeah, I love that because, we think going gluten-free is for people who have celiac disease or are gluten intolerant. But I have read more studies and seen people post that, oh, you know what, I went gluten-free, I tried that, and I got pregnant, and I had been having problems with it for years. And that just, not that happens for everybody, but I mean, think about that, right? Gluten causes so much havoc in our bodies, and we don't realize that it can be disruptive to other things such as reproduction in your body. So, you know, this is another reason why I wanted you to talk to our group, to open our eyes that gluten-free is really a healthy way to live overall, and can bring so much abundance to your life, which is, you know, we're talking about loving our gluten-free lives this month, right? And it just ties in so much. I mean, even for myself, I had two healthy pregnancies, and then my body was all messed up from gluten. And that's like when I was struggling in those years, I actually did lose a baby. And then after I was gluten-free and feeling very healthy again, I had my third child, and that was much later. So, you know, I really feel like, you know, having gone gluten-free, and that definitely brought health back to my body, which is what really helped me to get pregnant again. Not that we're trying to get pregnant, but you know, it happened.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the connection really between the gut health and inflammation in the body and overall health, whether it's reproductive health or just general health, is so key. You know, ancient traditions, a lot of the energy work is from the traditional Chinese medicine that I've studied, working with points on the body, meridians or energy pathways. Maybe you've heard of acupuncture, but you know, acupressure, using your fingers to influence these. But the Chinese, you know, they the first thing they say if there's an imbalance, it's like cut out gluten, cut out dairy, or you know, work on your diet.
Yeah, and you know, you can find studies, you can find people to attest to it that it absolutely helped them. So, you know, another reason to celebrate being gluten-free, right?
Definitely.
But so you see, Margot doesn't just help people conceive and have a healthy pregnancy, but she also helps them get out of overwhelm with all the tricks and tools that she has learned over her life, over her experience, all this health experience that she's had. So can you share with us what are some things that you do with women you work with, and you know, getting them out of overwhelm? Because like I think we mentioned at the beginning, when you go gluten-free, you're stuck in overwhelm, right? It's like, so we get so overwhelmed with all the changes of finding new foods and cooking new things, and even maybe some of us getting in the kitchen when we haven't prior, and all these new routines. So what are some tips and strategies that we can use to get out of overwhelm?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, before I dive into my first tip, when I was pregnant with my daughter, right near the third trimester, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to take medicine. I want to do this the natural route. So I had to change my diet. Essentially, I had to go gluten-free without like being told go gluten-free, right? And
Exactly.
I basically just managed it naturally. And I think it actually benefited my pregnancy and the birth of my daughter. I was able to, they have this thing when you're in the hospital, like, do you want to donate your cord, you know, blood? And they do a test to make sure everything's good with you. And they said that mine was like off the charts healthy. And I really attested to having to eat so healthy and essentially follow gluten-free during the last trimester of my pregnancy. But also my point was that I was overwhelmed. Like suddenly here I am, third trimester pregnant, and I have to,
that's a lot,
figure out like what to eat and how to eat. And so I get the overwhelm. And also, I know a lot of people sometimes go gluten-free because of other disease, whether it's celiac or some other reason. And it's like maybe they didn't do it by choice. And that's what I'm getting at, where it was almost like first accepting that, and like almost a grieving, like a mini grieving process, like, oh, I have to let go of eating all that bread or whatever, you know, and missing out on something. So I think a lot of it is kind of the emotional aspect of it.
Absolutely. Deprivation mindset. We talk about that a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. So the first tip really, I think, is just to be grounded in any situation. When you're feeling stress or overwhelmed, it's really to be grounded. And what does that even mean? Like, we've heard that term a lot, but we're electrical beings. Like our heart, Western medicine measures our heart with the EKG. There's a electrical pulse that keeps our heart going, and that we're just electrical beings, right? And then like a battery has like a north and south end. We have polarity. The earth has polarity, electromagnetic fields, our bodies have it. This is just a fact of science. So being out in nature, being ideally, if you can be barefoot on the ground, but it's not always possible depending on where you live with the weather, but just being in nature. Exactly, here too. But being in nature, like going for a walk, like when you're overwhelmed, stressed, going for a walk, getting out in nature, not only does that help recharge your battery, so to speak, like your electrical being physically, but it just makes you feel good, and then also helps ground you. So back to that like groundedness of electrical energy. It's like we have these battery cells sort of stacked up in our body, and the electricity like runs through like a current, and we really need that to be running smoothly and optimally for not just for feeling not stressed, but also for overall health as well.
Right.
And so if you can't get out in nature, I highly recommend, obviously, whenever you can, take a quick 10-minute walk. It does wonders for everything, your mental health included.
Absolutely.
But there's also energy exercises, a little tapping exercise that I can show now that also works on one of the energy pathways, again, from the traditional Chinese medicine that governs, it's called the stomach meridian or stomach pathway, that helps with grounding, because it starts at the cheekbones under the eyes, and it shoots all the way down, goes right through the ovaries. So it's great for supporting reproductive health as well, and goes off the second toe. So that stimulating that energy to help ground you, take that energy down and out. As women, we get our energy up from the earth, and then men get it more up from the sky overhead. And so having that connection with that earth so we can discharge excess energy is so crucial for just like grounding is like phase one foundation, be grounded for optimal health. So anyway, I'm talking a lot about the background, but without further ado, I'll show you the exercise. As you can see, I'm excited and passionate about this work.
I love it. Teach away.
All right. So like I said, it's just, there's points right directly under the eye on your cheekbone. And that's all you do. You just tap and of course breathe. And you can do this for about 15 seconds or so. I love that you're doing it along. And if it's tender, that usually means you need it. But sometimes if it's too aggravating to tap, you can also massage. Kind of looks funny on camera. and that's it. And I do this as part of a daily energy routine that I teach my clients, but that's one of them. And it really helps to ground you in the moment and also support that energy flow again that will support you being grounded. So it's a quick, easy thing like, tapping, breathing. Okay, you're taking yourself out of the overwhelm of the moment. And that's something that, I do once a day. You could do it more, but I think if that's something that you incorporate, you just remind your energy pattern to flow in that way. Sometimes when we get out of balance, it's just because there was some reason. Our bodies innately know how to protect us. And then if something gets stuck and out of balance, we just have to gently remind it, this is the natural way, this is the flow, and this takes us out of what we may be experiencing in the moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Does it matter like what fingers you use while you're tapping, or is it just the point that you're tapping on?
And in this case, no, that's a good question. Sometimes, I mean, each finger can mean specific things and they are correlated to certain energy pathways. But for this instance, no, it doesn't. I just happen to use my two fingers out of habit regularly. You could do more, or two is fine. But that's a good question.
Yeah, no, I asked because I've seen people tap before and it's like, use your thumb, use your, and I'm like, oh, does it matter? Does it really matter? So that's good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for some exercises specifically, it can have certain added elements that matter. For this one in particular, it doesn't particularly matter. Yes. Okay,
awesome. So being grounded and tapping, do you have another little tool you want to share?
Oh, yes, I have several. And actually one more kind of physical tool. So, when someone's stressed and they put their hand at the forehead and oh my goodness, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
That's actually an ancient energy practice because we have
Ah,
neurovascular points on the head
mhm,
that by bringing our hands, because again, our hands are electromagnetic, we
mhm.
can stimulate bringing the blood flow back to our brain. When we're stressed, the blood flow leaves our prefrontal cortex and goes back to the
Mm,
more the lizard brain, they say. And
yeah.
so we want to bring our faculties, bring our blood flow back up to the forebrain. So even when, like, I've done this before, when you're driving somewhere and someone cuts you off, and then you get to your destination, you're like, oh, I was almost in an accident, and you're like
Oh,
breathing and
yeah.
panicked, and it's like
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
take a deep breath.
So it calms you.
It calms you, but it
Yeah.
literally works by bringing the blood flow back to your um, your brain, so you can think
Wow.
and have your faculties restored.
Restore our faculties. We all need that.
Yes, it's really, it seems so simple, but
Yeah.
it's a powerful practice. And maybe rest your elbow or do this for several deep breaths. It's another
Mhm.
way just to bring yourself back to the present moment, get your blood flow going in your brain so you can think clearly.
Ah,
And then with that, if you're thinking clearly, then really coming up with like a plan, an action step, even if it's just one step or one small thing you can do to move forward. I find that, at least for me, when I'm in overwhelm, you don't know what to do or where to look, or how do you get out of that, having a plan and then being able to just take a little step forward, action
mhm,
will get you out of that.
mhm.
I'm sure when
Yeah.
you work with people in your programs, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
a plan laid out and you help them.
Yep. Yep. Little steps give you big rewards. This is what we talk about, right? Because if you try to do it all at once, you never get out of overwhelm because you're just thinking of all the things you have to do. But when you do take one step, right? You take one step and you think, oh, this is so little, like I'm just gonna replace plastics in my kitchen. What's that gonna do? Well, that's one step towards getting rid of cross-contamination in your home that's going to continue to build the gluten-free life that you need, right? So when you put all your little steps together, like Margot's telling you, then it just all falls into place, right?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I love that. So, all right, so be grounded, get out in nature. That's a great one. Energy tapping, that's great. I've seen a lot of things on tapping. I haven't used it personally a whole lot, but it seems to help quite a lot of people. So I love that. Um, holding our forehead, I like that one. I'm sure we already all do that every so often, but yeah, that's great. To replenish the blood flow and planning, taking small steps. Those are great, great, great tips. So, Margot, I know you have a freebie that you have to share with our audience. Would you like to share and tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. And also adding on breathing is so
Oh,
important. Like
oh,
when you're
sorry.
doing, oh no, you're fine. I just, whether you're just taking a deep breath or if you're doing any of the exercises, the breath is key too, not only to oxygenate the blood, but to,
Mhm.
again, that's a technique in and of itself.
Yeah.
I teach my clients different breathing practices, and in the freebie you mentioned, I have a little video of a specific yogic breathing technique
Oh,
too that
good.
can really help. So um, 5 simple strategies to help you get out of overwhelm and stress. And it's really like a self-care workbook that you can go through and go through each step and strategy. And there's several links that you can follow for a little instructional tutorial or video so that you can try it yourself. And again, I don't want to overwhelm anybody. I'm giving 5, that's a lot. I would say pick one that works for you
Mhm.
and just try it out and just see if it helps. I know one of my clients, I gave her a meditation, and I just got feedback the other day where she, capital letters, loved it. And it's just so wonderful to hear, because I know the benefits of meditation and I love it. But to
Mhm.
have a client actually, resonate with it, and actually so much so that she wants to do it, I just had to
Mhm.
share that, whether it's my meditation or someone else's, if you
Yeah.
can even take a few minutes a day and just be quiet and focus on
Mhm.
your breath or do a meditation, that it really, like you said, the small steps add up over time
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help.
Yeah. And I love that you said you don't have to do them all at once, start with one, you know, just breathe or just go outside for your walk and get grounded, right? And concentrate on that for a week or two and then add in another one. right? And you build it up. That's what we do in my programs. We build things up. You start with small steps, and each step kind of builds on the next. So it all comes together. So Margot, where can we find you for those of us in the group who want to come and follow you?
Yes, yes. Thank you for asking. And yeah, that's my other tip is when you're in overwhelm, get support, reach out, whether it's a friend, a coach, somebody else you know that has a plan or paths like Jennifer has in her groups, you know, that really takes a lot out of it. Go to someone that has been through this or has a plan worked out. And it's amazing because just hearing somebody else tell you, okay, do X, Y, Z, it just, for me, it takes the overwhelm out a lot of the times.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, if anyone is interested or knows somebody that may be on their fertility journey, my Instagram is at Margot Thornton Coach. My Facebook name as well, and I also have a private Facebook group, Pathway to Pregnancy, Pathway 2 with a number 2. If you are yourself on your fertility journey, I invite you to come in the group to experience the support of other women on that journey as well. And feel free to reach out or email me if you have any questions as well. I know we'll leave the information below, I'm sure.
Yes, I will have all of her links and all of her information below, as well as the link to grab her freebie for her self-care booklet. And she's not just all about fertility. I mean, she is about fertility, but she is also about getting out of overwhelm. And she has all these great tips and tricks that she can teach you. So if you are stuck in overwhelm and you need help there, go on over and check out her on Instagram, Facebook, in her group, and definitely grab her freebie so you can start implementing some of the things that she talked about today. So, all right, friends, thank you, Margot, so much for joining us and sharing your great tips today. So as we continue to love our gluten-free life, which one of these will you implement today? Let us know below and grab those links below, and we will see you again. Have a delicious gluten-free day. We'll see you in our next chat. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.